this episode, we're going to talk about the one thing that kids love, no matter what era we're talking about, and that is gross stuff. So, stick around. Hello, fellow dorks and dorkettes, and welcome to Nostalgia Syndrome. My name is Rob, and in this episode, we will be talking about what I deem gross-out toys. For as long as there have been toys, there have been those ones that cling to the fringe that are just a little off, a little gross. But when we approached the mid-'80s, they started to take the limelight. They weren't on the fringes anymore, and that trend continued into the 90s. Heck, it's a trend that still continues today, although not as prevalent as it once was. Anyway, without further ado, let's kick things off with number 1. Our first gross-out toy comes from Irwin in the year 1991, and these are Oozers. Now, Oozers were small figures that you could unscrew at the waistline usually and fill with this gel that came included. Once the gel was inside and you screwed the figure back together, you could squeeze them to have ooze erupt from their eyes, their mouth, what have you. The back of the package featured 4 different Oozers, and they were Goalie the Goalie, Brain Drain, Drac Baby, and Bonesy, Grim Reaper type dude. Now the commercial, that we'll get to in a few moments, features more characters that aren't featured on the back of the packaging. So I don't know if there was an unproduced second wave, a second wave that just kind of sailed under the radar, or just really hard to find figures. Because I've only found examples of out of the package and played with figures for 3 of the 4 of these. It seems like Goalie the Goalie is really hard to come by. Now, I don't know if they never made him because of his resemblance to Jason and all the fallout that the Nightmare on Elm Street toys, that they just kind of pulled him back. I'm not sure. The other ones feature more of a universal monster flair. I mean, especially Drac Baby. Brain Drain kind of reminds me of the Invisible Man. And Bonesy, like I mentioned before, is just kind of like a Grim Reaper. Now, in general, these seem very hard to come by because I have not been able to find any listed on eBay, Etsy, anywhere. Would find it really odd that not 1 or 2 of these survived long enough to be resold. Anyway, enough of that. Let's take a look at the original 1991 commercial.
They are the most monstrous and gross. If you love slime, then it's about time for Oozers. It's slime time. Oozers. Oozers. Oozing with fun, try squeezing one. They're Oozers. Monstrous fun, each sold separately.
Our second gross-out toy is not as gross as, let's say, the Oozers were. But they took a page out of the playbook that Mad Balls created in the 80s and slapped some wings on it. These are Air Freaks, and they were released by Big Time Toys in 1998. Now, Air Freaks, like I said, kind of took the blueprint that was created by Mad Balls of having these little grotesque characters, but instead of being in ball form, they are in airplane glider form. Now, there were 3 Air Freaks in total, I think, because like Oozers, Air Freaks are pretty hard to come by. I was only able to find one listing, and we'll throw that price up there towards the end of this little segment. But, like I said, there were 3 Air Freaks that I know of, and they are Flamethrower, a dragon-esque kind of glider, Flying Eyeball, which his name kind of gives away what he is, and the last one was Mad Dog, which is something that appeared a lot in these grotesque, gross-out toy lines. Just a freaky looking dog. I was very surprised that there is almost 0 footprint of the Air Freaks online. I mean, put in Air Freaks and you get some stuff that you don't really need to see. But I was able to find one listing, and that was from the UK, and it went for a pretty substantial amount, which doesn't really shock me if this is the only one that seems to be floating around on the secondary market. To be fair, 98 seems like a pretty late year to be taking inspiration from something from the mid-80s, such as Mad Balls. But the Air Freaks had their own personality, just like the Mad Balls did, so I think they're pretty cool for that alone. Our third gross out toy is probably the grossest of the bunch, in my opinion. These came from Empire Toys in 1996, and these are real Squirming bugs. Now, let's just take a look at the actual packaging for these toys. This is a pretty grisly scene to be front and center on your toy packaging. A bug with its head ripped off, with its spinal cord leading back to its body, with blood everywhere. Also, if you read the little blurb here, it says, "Inject pus, pull out their heads, and watch them squirm and fuss." Yes, each 2-pack came with its own container of pus that you could put inside the bugs, which it made sure to point out that it was non-toxic and super gross. There were 5 2-packs released, and the bugs that came in these packs had names such as Beetle Bash and Mr. Squirm, Fathead and Rockin' Roach, Jitterbug and Wiggle Wasp, Scorpion Squash and Hoppin' Hornet, and lastly, Vertebrake and Spider Spaz. I don't think you can get away with saying Spaz anymore. But anyway, now, when you would remove their heads, there was a string connecting the head to the body, a la like the spinal cord in the artwork. Once you did this, and of course let it go and pus is flying everywhere, that would cause the bug to vibrate violently, which would get the squirming effect that the toy desired. Now, out there in the world, these seem to be pretty plentiful. You can find them for a song and a dance, or if you want to make the investment of getting one of those 2-packs still in its packaging, you pay a little bit more, but it's not as expensive as I would think. I mean, it's still pretty reasonable if you wanted to get one of these mint in package. But anyway, I wish that there was a commercial for these toys. I mean, I remember this line and I thought it would be popular enough to warrant a commercial. Unfortunately, it didn't. But anyway, let's get to our next toy. Our fourth gross out toy is probably the most popular and fondly remembered on this list. These are Blurp Balls, released by Ertl in 1991. Now, there were 8 Blurp Balls in total released, and they were Biff Barf Ball, Bony Toss Teeth, Count Have a Heart, that actually, when squeezed, would launch a heart out of his mouth. Yeah. Croaky Bugchuck, Retcha-Rat Tomcat that throws up a rat, Sharky Skull Squirt, Spit-Tui Suey the pig, and Tyrannosaurus Rex. I mean, these took, again, the blueprint that Am Toys had for Mad Balls, and they just amped it up a little bit more. Even the names themselves are a lot more grodier than the Mad Ball names. And this had the feature of, if you squeeze the ball, a second little ball, if you will launch out of its mouth. Like the heart for Dracula, and the dead rat for the cat one. These are very popular with the gross out toy / Mad Ball toy collecting community. I mean, rightfully so. They are just another page of the same book, and they're awesome. I was surprised that mint and package, although many hundreds of dollars, isn't more expensive. I mean, these things were very popular, and they still are on the collector's market, like I said. So $300 seems like a steal when you're getting one of these mint and package. That could just be me. I mean, I would never buy one because I don't have the money for that. But if I did, $300 would be a steal. Let's take a look at the original commercial for Blurp Balls.
Gruesome. Repulsive. Hideous. Disgusting. Obnoxious. Revolting. Wretched. Sickening. Blurp balls. They make you want to blurp.
For our fifth and final Forgotten 90s Gross Out toy, we're going to take a look at the miniature playset boom that happened in the 90s. I mean, almost everything had a miniature playset attached to it. Godzilla movie, even the revival of Johnny Quest had little miniature playsets. These, though, fall within the gross category. These are Body Wars, released by Toymax in 1994. There were 6 in total, and they featured different body parts and little warriors and weapons that helped to defend said body parts. The 6 were Daigo Destroyer, the stomach, Eye Eliminator, which was an eye, Hardy Heart, which was a heart. I didn't really need to say that, but it was. Laser Lung, the lungs. Main Brain, the brain. Gotta have something to control the rest of the body. And the last one was Skull Scanner. This toy line is very, very popular out on the secondary market. Everything from the little PVC figures to the playsets themselves go for top dollar. I can almost understand it because of how small and easily lost a lot of these pieces are, but to pay upwards to over $1,000 for one just seems insane to me. These seem very inventive and fun, and the characters and the playsets are really interesting. Someone actually took the time to create just very imaginative toys and playsets for this line. But I know someone that can explain Body Wars a lot better than me, and that is the original commercial from 1994.
Every day your body fights a battle.
This is Body Wars Skull Scanner. Report.
Eye Eliminator under germ attack. Ditto main brain. It's germ warfare.
Hardy Heart, still beating.
It's Body Wars.
Each body part is a fighting fortress. Launch nuclear missiles from the Daigo Destroyer, or wipe out Eye Assassins from the Eye Eliminator.
Yeah!
Each body part is a fighting fortress. All 6 Body Wars sold separately. Comes with 1 Health Hero, 2 Germ Warriors, and 2 missiles by Toymax.
Okay folks, that was a look at 5 forgotten 90s gross out toys. Now, gross out toys is just the genre that I placed these and toys like them in when I compile my little handwritten encyclopedia of different toys. So, I don't know what the real name would be for this grotesque trend of toys, but I think gross out toys fits it perfectly. Some, of course, are a little bit more grosser than others, and that is fantastic. Grosser the better. Like I said, all kids seem to flock to gross stuff, especially boys, but you know there's girls that love that gross stuff out there. Everyone loves gross stuff, and toys were no exception. I'm sure every toy on this list was so much fun to play with, and gross enough to freak out your parents with. And yeah, we need that trend to come back ASAP. We need that little bit of grotesque fun back on the toy shelves. Now, of course, there's things here and there of, you know, like dissecting alien things to get goop and stuff out of it. There are, you know, these things that you drop in water and they dissolve into little creatures. I mean, they're definitely out there. Just not as prevalent as they once were. And that kind of sucks. But anyway, enough of that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them and I love getting back to everyone. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed this or any of the episodes that YouTube is recommending down here, please hit subscribe. If you hit that little bell icon, you'll be notified whenever there's a new episode. So anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Keep being rad and stay gross.